Welcome to The One Thing. This is a new event series that we are bringing together, not to necessarily tackle huge issues like how to create a marketing calendar. We're going to assume that you're coming to this with a calendar already created. In fact, you probably hit a couple of big days already. Health and wellness kicking off in January. We had the Super Bowl. We had Valentine's Day just yesterday. Our goal instead with every single one of these events is to take a big topic in e-commerce and try to boil it down one presenter at a time. So if you're asking yourself the question, what is the one thing? These are our illustrious presenters today. And every time we get together, we're going to have folks from across the marketing world, D2C, e-commerce, on the brand side, on the agency side, on the technology side. And what they have all been tasked with, what I've also been tasked with, is a simple directive. That is to give you a principle, an application, and an example. Now, there, in most cases, is going to be more than one example, but that one example is going to be dead set on illustrating and bringing to life the principle and the application with this overarching singleness of purpose. We want you to leave with at least one takeaway to make your e-commerce business 1% better. And that means I want you to have your eyes open, not necessarily to everything that comes your way over the next 45 minutes or so. And please do ask us questions if they pop up along the way. Not to try to take everything in, but instead to pick your one thing as we move through this, screenshot it, take some notes down, and make sure you've got a plan, something to go put it into action. That is our fundamental goal. And so with that, please welcome to the digital stage, my friend Ezra Firestone from Zipify. Ezra, are you here? Can the people hear you?
Yes, I'm here, ready to go. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's do it, sir. Over to you.
Rock and roll. So my principle is around increasing average order value by upselling during the sales process. And I think it's a really good idea, and it works for us in our businesses, and I think you should be doing it too. I'm going to give you some examples of how to do that. So our data across now 150,000 Shopify stores that have installed our app and the 14,000 that are actively using it is that up to 60% of people will say yes to an offer that you make them during the sales process from product page through to checkout, if those offers are relevant, which is a lot. It's like more than half of people are willing to add something onto their basket while they're checking out. And I have a question for you, which is, do you know why good poker players always buy in for the maximum? I used to be a professional poker player, and any game I played in, I bought in for the maximum amount of money because I was really confident that I would win, and I wanted to have as much on the table as possible so that when I got into a hand, I could put as much money in as possible to make as much money as possible. And we can click to the next one, your sales process works the same way. Your average order value works the same way. You've got to make additional offers while the order is happening, because on average, 82% of people who buy from you will never come back. You will never see them again. This is your one chance with them. And hey, I have 50% repeat customer rate at my store, Boom by Cindy Joseph. That's because 2 of the people who will come back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's not because 5 out of 10 people come back. It's because 2 will. And if you're able to make additional offers while they're going through your checkout process and get them to take an additional product, you have a better chance of getting something in their hands that they are actually going to love and be willing to come back to you for. So the more that you can increase your average order value, the more products you can get in front of the consumer, the better chance that you have to keep them for the long term. And then also, by the way, the more money your business has to make your products better, to pay your team better, to invest in advertising. Like, people like to say average order value is the most important metric in the e-commerce marketing stack. I disagree. I think it's the second most important metric. I think your cost to acquire a customer is actually your most important metric that when it comes down to whether or not you're going to be successful, but AOV is up there. So let's look at some examples of how you can implement this. So the 5 places that you can offer upsells during the sales process is product page, shopping cart, checkout, post-purchase, and thank you page. I'm going to run through examples of this. So the product page, well, this is my best upsell. I think your upsell process should be offer on the product page, offer in the shopping cart, offer post-purchase, offer during checkout, and offer on the thank you page. I'm going to show you examples here of what these look like. You don't have to get as hog wild as me, but this is 2007, what you're looking at right here. I was America's #1 mullet wig retailer, Afro wig retailer, Elvis wig retailer, clown wig retailer, online. Nobody was online back then. We're talking before the iPhone. That's me on the left in a mullet. That's my brother in a clown wig. That's my wife. We were like 19 in a troll wig. And that's me in the Elvis wig right there. But you can see all the way back in 07, I was upselling on the product offer page through an additional offer above the add to cart button. 60% of people took this. This thing cost me 25 cents. I sold it for $4. I made most of my money in this business selling these wig caps. So you can offer it on the product page. Here's some other examples. Product page, most people don't do this. This is my product sold out right now. It's called Boom Gloss. It's a really wonderful lip gloss. I've got 2 options of popular products that you can check, and it'll add to the cart with you. When you click the add to cart button, you can do buy more, save more. Next example is using variants as a way to increase your average order value. And you'll notice that I default to the most expensive variant, because in every split test that I've ever done on variants, if you default to the more expensive one, more people will choose that one. So you can see there, we've defaulted to our 8-ounce variant. And then finally here, we have the Amazon style. Generally, this will sit under your buy box on your product offer page, where you can bundle additional items with the core item that's in the buy box, and you've got an add to cart button to it. And then the last example on the product page, we use this a lot, is, hey, this product that you're looking at is also in a bundle. Click over to that bundle page and save money. Save $12, go check out this product, get it, but get other products with it and save money. And you can see that Milk is doing that here with their bundle. So that's the product page. On the shopping cart, when someone goes to check out, they're like in the shopping cart, they're leaving the cart, going into the checkout. You've got a couple things that you can do. You can do and by the way, I do not discount in the shopping cart. I do not discount pre-purchase. I only discount post-purchase. You're not going to see any discounts from me in my pre-purchase upsells. There's debate around that. I can talk about why I do it, but either way, you'll notice this upsell right here. This is a, hey, why not try this other product before you leave? And then it's got a social proof customer testimonial. This thing crushes. It's just a why not try this additional item that is also really popular. So you can do a single item add-on. You can do an upgrade or a swap. We use this on any product that has a bundle. We say, hey, would you like to replace this item that's in your cart with a bundle that also includes it? Very similar to what I just showed you on the product offer page, except for we're doing it dynamically through a pop-up modal. Save money, get this item as well, but get a few other items with it. Also works really well. The other thing that you can do in the cart, and I think the ultimate, if you have a bunch of SKUs, right? We've got at this point 40 SKUs in this brand, is give them multiple offers to look through, and they can add a bunch of them or just one of them and then continue to check out. This is the winner across all. I have a bunch of stats from a bunch of stores that are doing this, and the multi-item offer pre-purchase tends to, on average, make about $1.49 per pop-up than a single item or a swap to a bundle. And I'll show you the stats here in just a second. We can move to the next one. So here you can see this is a multi-item pre-purchase upsell, and $2.28 of the total $3.67 that is made per visitor that sees this modal is coming from Boomstick Rose Nude. Now, if I didn't have any other options on this upsell, then I would only make $2.28. But because I have a bunch of them, people can say, oh, you know what? I want that one. And you can see Boom Bright makes me 84 cents every time somebody sees the pop-up. Boom Calm makes me 82 cents every time someone sees the pop-up. Boom Silk is the least popular, but it still makes me 64 cents additional every time someone sees the pop-up. So $1.49 extra on average we're seeing with people who have multiple items. Now, if you're a single item brand, you can't do this, but most brands are able to do this because they got more than one item. You can split test this at every step. So you can split test, like here, we're split testing 3 items versus 5 items on our hair care brand. And you can see the 5-item pop-up is making 30 cents more per person who sees the pop-up than the 3-item pop-up. So make sure you're split testing. Very easy to do this in a bunch of tools. My tool does this. You can use my tool. You can use another tool, but split testing is important. And then a few other things that we find pre-purchase that work really well are discount thresholds. So you can see here, it's like, hey, if you reach $100, you'll get 25% off. But where at the threshold you're at right now, which is $75, you get 10% off. And so you can give them a discount threshold to sort of reach. And you can do the same thing with free shipping, where you've got free shipping thresholds that you use your pre-purchase upsells to get somebody to get over that free shipping threshold. Our app does this for you. Okay, so that's pre-purchase. Product page in the shopping cart. Now, post-purchase. This is really what we sort of invented for the Shopify space. Post-purchase one-click upsells existed in the direct response marketing industry, which is where I came from. And what it is after somebody buys from you, instead of taking them to the thank you page, they're feeling good. They just bought something. There's serotonin flowing. They're like, oh, damn, I got some shit's coming in the mail. I'm going to be excited. I got this for my lady. She's going to be stoked. You're feeling good. You're happy. You made a purchase decision. Consumerism at its finest. Right then, you say, hey, would you like to add one more of what you just bought? Or would you like to add this additional item? Don't enter your credit card information again. Just click this one button. And you can see the Boomstick Trio. We're saying buy one more of what you just got. On Life Boost, all the way to the right of the page, we're saying add this additional item that you didn't get yet. And all the way over to the left, and we added this for a watch brand who came to us and said, hey, I've got wooden watch bands, I've got bamboo watch bands, and I got metal watch bands. When somebody buys a watch, I want them as their post-purchase upsell to choose an additional band type. So we've got the choose one of many options on the post-purchase upsell as well. One click, on average, 10 to 15% increase in average order value overnight by adding a single post-purchase one-click upsell. Every store should do this. And by the way, just go back to that slide for just 1 second. Shopify came to me, and I know the guys at Shopify, Harley and Toby and the whole team over there, because I've been a Shopify guy for a long time. And they came to me and said, hey, we like this so much. We want to build it into our technology. We used to have to work around Shopify. Now we were the first, and now there's a bunch of us, but we collaborated with Shopify to build this into their checkout because it became such a foundational part of the e-commerce direct response marketing technology stack. So Shopify's on board with this. It works really well. Finally, you've got your thank you page upsells, which is basically, hey, one last chance. You're on the thank you page. You got all your order details and all your information. You say, hey, if you wanted to add this one other item that you didn't buy yet or that is complimentary, go ahead and do it now. And that works pretty well. It's only 3% of total upsell revenue from our app. So our app does pre-purchase, product page pre-purchase, in-cart pre-purchase, in-checkout pre-purchase, and then post-purchase one-click upsell before the thank you page, and then post-purchase upsells on the thank you page. So it currently represents 3% of total revenue, but it's the fastest growing upsell spot in our app ecosystem. A lot more people are adopting this because to some folks, it feels less intrusive than not sending them the thank you page right away and just saying, hey, buy something else from me. So this is working really well for us. And finally, like, hey, if you're going to take one thing away, what I think you should have at a bare minimum is on your product offer page, some form of upsell, whether that's upsell to subscription, whether that's upsell to a variant, whether that's add this additional item on, something on the product page, and at least one click post-purchase upsell. It will make you more money. And then you can use that money to do more good things in the world. And if you're not going to use that money to do good stuff in the world, don't use my app.
Especially during those high volume moments. So if this is your one thing, screenshot this puppy, get ready to take additional notes as we move into our next speaker, John Tucker from HelpFlow. Sir, give me a holler.
Holler.
Oh, lovely. And off we go.
So we are going to talk about predicting abandons before they happen and basically saving those sales with chat. And Ezra talked a lot about in checkout, how likely people are to buy an upsell, right? One of the things we're going to dig into is the amount of lost opportunities that happen in checkout and being able to save those and then maybe upsell them also. And so if you look at the data on your site, it's going to vary, depending on your site, depending on your checkout flow, depending on your testing. But around 60-70% of visitors that start the checkout process end up abandoning. And Aaron had some really good data here from a couple different studies, dynamic yield, et cetera. It varies again, depending on the study and a whole bunch of different things, but massive amount of people that start the checkout process end up abandoning, right? And so it's a huge leak of revenue in the business, because these are not just people that, you got to come to the site based on your ad, or you got, from some sort of influencer campaign you're doing. These are people that got into checkout all the way in and then they didn't complete, right? And so they're super, super interested and something's holding them back from buying. And so you're already doing a range of things, right, to save those. Everybody does, or you should be doing cart abandonment emails. Maybe you haven't tested them like crazy, but you probably have it set up. If not, make that your one thing before this. But cart abandonment emails, cart recovery SMS, different ways to get people back to the site. There's a lot of things you're probably already doing, or at least thinking about doing, to get people back after they abandon. But what you're probably not doing is figuring out like what causes somebody to abandon and then getting them to convert on the site. And so that's what I wanted to dig into, is basically using visitor behavior. So in number one there, basically what I'm talking about is tracking what leads to an abandon and then engaging with them on chat. And so I want to like provide a little meat for that because it can get a little bit advanced. Basically what we're talking about in terms of predicting abandons is using Google Analytics data at a high level to see data for anybody that's abandoned in the past, and then start to see what those patterns are that lead to an abandon later. So it can range depending on a bunch of different things on your site, but it might be before they get into checkout, they went back and forth between two different products, but they went back and forth between them. You could track that type of thing. It could be that they, went back one step in the checkout process. So if you have a multi-step checkout process, then like they went back at some point in that checkout process before they abandoned. And so essentially what we're talking about is figuring out those patterns. And you can get, I'll distill it down so it's not so complex at the very end, but you can get super, super nerdy with this process and basically pass data from Google Analytics into the data layer of Google Tag Manager, it's called, to basically get very, very granular on predicting who's going to abandon and then engaging with them. Like you can get kind of crazy with it, but essentially what you're doing is saying, okay, this person is going to abandon based on the steps of what they're doing, right? And so then what you do is you invite those people to chat to spark up a conversation. I'll get into the example in a second, but you're basically knowing they're going to abandon and then engaging with them before that starts to happen. And to be crystal clear, I'm not talking about exit intent stuff. I'm not talking about tracking when they scroll up to abandon. I'm talking about, step, 1 or 2 of 3 steps that lead to an abandon. I'm talking about earlier on in the process. And so you're essentially engaging with them, sparking up a conversation, and then you're able to use that conversation to close that sale. And so I wanted to kind of show you guys how much revenue is at stake in some cases. This particular client, they do a lot of sales. The reason why I chose this particular one is I wanted there to be a lot of data that you could look at, right? If they're doing 10K a month, like those numbers are going to be all over the place anyway. So this is a makeup and skincare brand. Strong site-wide conversion metrics though on this one, almost 4%, 3.8 is a little small on my screen, but almost 4%. It's a strong business. They do healthy numbers. But as we dig a little bit deeper, if you click forward, Aaron, you can see the number of people that abandon in a single month on this store. There's a couple different data points here. The top one where it says help needs checkout. That's the total number of abandons in checkout. And then the second row, 6,600-ish, 6,620. This is the number of people that abandon on the payment page. So basically on that last step in the checkout process. And so if you run those numbers, it's $250,000 of people bailing on the actual payment screen, right? And so saving, a small fraction that is going to drive a lot of sales. If you're converting, 4% of everybody, you'd expect 10 to 20%, somewhere around that, of these abandons to be able to be saved if you do it in a solid way. And so right there, you're looking at, 25, 50K a month of additional revenue for this brand, right? So it's significant dollars, and that's just in the payment process. And so what I'd encourage you guys to do is look at your data to see how many people are abandoning at different steps. But zooming out, right, we talked about tag manager and data layer and tons of crazy stuff. It doesn't have to also be that complicated. Like you'll probably end up getting that granular later once you see it work. But basically what I'm talking about as the one thing for you to do is to add chat into the checkout. So basically have chat in checkout. Don't interrupt people that are in the process of buying. Like there's a lot of debate of like, should chat be in checkout or not, right? It's not that chat shouldn't be in checkout. It's that you should not invite somebody when they're obviously going to buy. And you can base that on the data. But test the right time to invite somebody in checkout and judge it based on the response rate on those greetings. So if you're inviting somebody to chat, what percentage of those people actually reply? And then the content of those conversations. Are they saying, no, I don't have any questions, therefore you interrupted them, right? Or are they saying, yeah, blah, 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 I got some questions, and then you're able to convert it. So basically get chat into checkout, test the timing, and see how many of those sales you can save. And I'm happy to nerd out after on Twitter if you want to dig in, or email me on some of the crazy stuff you can do. But at a minimum, do this.
Do it. Screenshot that. Go hit up John Tucker, USA. Oh, such a patriotic handle. And that's the nuance right there at the end. If anybody, I tried to stay quiet when I got excited about that nuance of not interrupting, but knowing when to jump in. Oh, thank you, sir. All right. Next up on the stage, Eric Melchor from OptinMonk. You are locked and loaded, good sir.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I don't have a patriotic handle like John, and I'm not a professional poker player like Ezra, but I am a mediocre tennis player. So that's my specialty right there. Now, John and Ezra talked about increasing average order value and saving cart abandonments. I'm going to talk about reducing your cost per acquisition. And how can you do that? By personalizing your on-site experience beyond holiday banners and merchandising. All right. So specifically, what we're going to focus on, you can go and hit these bullets, Aaron, is if you're running Google or Facebook ads, right? What you can do is you can use dynamic content based off UTM tags to have your headlines basically mimic or align with your ad copy and value propositions off the ads that you're running. In other words, no, it's not necessary to create multiple landing pages to do this. And by aligning your headlines with your ad copy, you can expect a lift in conversions anywhere from 20 to 50%. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here. Avi, they are an e-commerce brand that focuses on health and wellness, primarily with their protein powder. And their main headline on this ad is reverse signs of aging. It says it in the copy on top and in the ad itself. Now, when a person clicks on the ad, the headline of the landing page resonates perfectly with the ad. It's aligned with the ad. There's no confusion, as the person clicking on the ad knows they are exactly in the right place. Now, Avi's product has more than one benefit. So we go to another benefit that they have is getting rid of wrinkles. And so their product also helps prevent hair loss, as shown by this ad. And when a person clicks on that ad, they actually go to the same exact landing page. The only difference is the headline, which says regrow healthy hair fast, which is aligned with the ad that they just clicked on. All right, next slide. And again, this is like a magic product or a magical product. They've got a lot of different benefits. One of the other benefits that they promote is the best tasting collagen protein, as shown in this ad. And voila, when you click on it, what does the landing page say? Exactly the same thing that you read on the ad. So having the headline match the ad can be done through dynamic content, as opposed to creating multiple landing pages. And what can you expect from personalizing the landing page headline based on the ad copy? Again, a lift in conversion rate anywhere from 20 to 50%, which basically is going to reduce your cost per acquisition. Okay, so if you want a better return on ad spend, then the one takeaway here is to personalize your landing page headlines to match the ad's value proposition.
That is a flipping one thing right there. That is a one thing, buddy.
One thing.
Good gravy. All right. Now, as the bars continue to be raised, next up is Trevor Crump from Bestie. Sir, let me know that you're here. Let the people know.
What's up?
There it is. I love that.
Here we are.
You got a voice for podcasts, a face for video. Let's do it.
Come on now. Easy here. All right. So what I want to talk about really ties into a lot of things that have already been talked about, from reducing cost pers to increasing AOVs and predictability. One thing that I want to do during these big holiday moments is to collect more customer insights faster while you have some of the most highest volume windows going on with these purchases. So let's go ahead and jump on over. Every brand's most valuable data source is their customer. All right. And you can keep clicking. As you know, after somebody purchases with your brand, that is the most engaged a customer tends to be, is on this post-purchase experience, right? They're psyched about what they just purchased. They're really right. They want to see what, they're excited to get their email that's going to come to them to confirm what they purchased. So typically we see about 35 to 45% of the customers who purchase are willing to answer 1 to 3 questions right after they purchase. Okay. And of the people who ask one, 70% of them are typically going to answer 2 to 3 more on top of that. So questions that are really amazing questions to ask in a post-purchase experience that are going to drive massive results are number one, how did you first hear about a brand? The reason why I love this one is because this helps a brand understand from the top of funnel and from more of an awareness perspective, where are people hearing about their brand? Okay. Number two is, how did you get to the website today? Right? So everybody who just purchased should know exactly how they got to their website, right? I, as a brand owner, I want to know what that was. Okay. Did they remember me? Was it my email? Was it my SMS game? Was it one of my ads? What brought them to the site? Because I really want to understand which bottom of the funnel channels are driving the most, like I said, bottom of the funnel, ready to buy people. Okay. The third thing that I love asking, right? And this ties everything together, is how long have you known about the brand? Because what this does is this gives me a good idea as a brand owner, what the life cycle of the buyer's journey is, right? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 6 months? Because if it's 6 months versus 2 weeks, I'm going to have to invest a lot more into marketing, right? I've got to do more things. Touch points are my best friend at that point, right? Now, when you take all three of those questions, those top three questions together, that actually helps me understand a big portion of the buyer's journey as well, from how did you hear about me? How long did you know before you went to the next channel that brought you to the site to then buy? Okay. The fourth question that I love asking is understanding why people purchased a specific product that day. Okay. The reason why I love this thing is because 9 times out of 10, well, everybody has a good idea as to why people buy their product. 9 times out of 10, they're either completely wrong or they just don't have as much information. Okay. So using these massive moments, right? These big holiday moments, it's a great way to speed up the process and collect as much data as possible to help you scale the smaller moments in between. Okay. Example, there's a brand out there called Pajamas. What Pajamas is they are a potty training aid pajama. So essentially just think of pajamas with a built-in diaper, right? Reusable, right? You can wash it, reuse it, everything. When they first started marketing, they had 2 main value props. The first one was this one right here, which was eco-friendly. People are going to buy pajamas because it's going to save the environment. I think the average time it takes a diaper or a pull-up to decompose in a dump is like 12 to 15 years. So that's our number one. That's the number one reason people buy from us. The second reason is because it's going to save them money. On average, parents are paying $200 to $300 a year on diapers, where they could just buy a set or 2 of these pajamas and save a couple $100. So we decided, let's put it to the test. Let's actually ask the customers and figure out on this post-purchase experience, what actually motivated you to buy pajamas today? Okay. So as we serve this survey, what do you think people are going to say? So let's go ahead and see how many people said eco-friendly. 7% of all of their purchases said eco-friendly. Okay. The second thing was 9% of people said it was diaper saving costs. So 16% of the people who purchased responded for 80% of the messaging and budget around what was happening with ads. Whereas what actually happened, the main reason people were buying was for this delayed potty training support. So essentially it just meant it's taking me too long and I want to shorten the window of how long it takes me to potty train my child. So 52% of people are saying this. So what they end up doing is they end up putting out new ad creative, changing up their value props, changing up their messaging, creating ads just like this right here, which introduces this idea about bridging the gap between diapers and pajamas. And the moment they change their messaging, 42% increase in link click-through rate. That's not just click-through rate on an ad. That's link click-through rate, which shows more intent to purchase. Second is their ROAS, their ROI, the ROAS goes from a 2.5 to a 4. And within 2 weeks, they sell out of inventory completely. All because the 2 main things they were creating all of their messaging around weren't aligned with the actual reason why a customer was motivated to buy. So if you do nothing else, this one thing to take away is to get your customer feedback so that you can eliminate all of the guesswork in between.
Gauntlet's been laid down. Y'all are picking it up left and right. Screenshot moment. It's just going to be up here for a couple more seconds because next up is Katie Crochet, Social Snowball. Katie, you here with us? Can the people hear you?
Hello.
Fantastic. It is all yours.
Awesome. I don't know how to follow that. That was so good. So the one principle is to turn seasonal shoppers into loyal affiliates through the ultimate reward. So what does that actually mean? The principle really is that every customer that visits your store, whether it's for a Valentine's Day sale, the Super Bowl sale, any type of event, is actually a very good tool for customer acquisition. So we've all seen this, give 10, get 10, it's dead. It's totally dead. If you have a 20% off Valentine's Day sale and you're trying to get people to refer, they're probably not going to be incentivized to refer. And even if they do, someone's going to go to the site, use the sale code, totally disregard all of the referrals that you probably want. So if 80% of people are probably not going to purchase again, like Ezra was saying, then you probably want them to be incentivized to refer through the right incentive. So maybe it's not 10% off on their next purchase because who knows if they're going to come back. So really the key though is to make sure that the incentive, no matter what, is bigger than the sale that you have on your site. So you have a 20% off sale, you're going to want to make sure that the incentive for someone to refer is larger than that. So what kind of incentives do you actually give? If you're not going to give 10% off, if you're going to stay away from basic discounting, you can use gifted products. So you can offer them a free product and have them just earn that free product as a bonus. Maybe they don't even make a repeat purchase. Maybe they just redeem that free product right after they refer. You can use store credit, but you can also tier it and incentivize them to refer more. So maybe they get 40% off or a larger incentive if they have a higher referral amount. But the main reward that you're probably going to want to use is cash. And a lot of brands don't actually think about this. But if people aren't coming back for repeat purchase, why would they want 10% off? Cash is a huge incentive for a lot of people, especially for brands where their customers might see an extra $20 and say, $20 right in my bank account just for referring my mom, my sister, who all might go and actually just make the purchase anyways. That can be extremely huge. So the trick here is to actually treat customers like they're affiliates. So when you offer them cash instead of just a welcome discount or equivalent, you actually get to build your relationship with them as affiliates, and then it creates a really big network for acquisition. So you have those people with followers, maybe it's like 1,000 followers on Instagram, and now all of a sudden they're sharing their code or they're sharing their link, just hoping that they can make that extra $10. But to them, it means a lot. And to the brand, it's a ton of incremental revenue if you have about 10,000 customers all sharing just their little links trying to get their $10. So a really good example of this is Outway socks. So Outway knew that they had a lot of word of mouth referrals. They have a super fun product, funky socks. Everybody loved them. They couldn't quite actually track it though. And so what was happening was over the course of 12 months, they saw their cost of paid ads triple. And they were like, okay, we need to find a way to acquire people at a lower cost than our paid ads. And so they went through, they tried all these different referral programs. It really didn't work because they were doing the whole give 10, get 10, and it wasn't working. And so they couldn't figure it out. They knew that they had to crack the code somehow. And they then realized, what if we actually give people just $15 per referral? They knew that it was lower than the cost to acquire. It was guaranteed ROI because they're only going to pay it out when they get that referral. And so that's the program that they set up. The process was seamless. So what they actually did was every time a customer made a purchase, they immediately put them into their referral program. And when they hit that thank you page, the customer has a discount code or a link to share with their network, and is told that they can earn $15 extra. So the results were they were crazy. They basically flicked on the program and saw a 5x ROI on what they were paying affiliates. And then they saw over 9% of their GMV actually generated just from referrals. So it really confirmed what they actually knew, which was a lot of their business was being driven by referrals. They just needed the right system in place to track it. So if there's one thing that you're going to do that you're probably better off doing if you have just a basic referral program, it's to offer a real incentive to share. So if you think about what your customers really want, what will they actually want in return for sharing? Give them a real incentive.
All right, talk about the gauntlet. It is down to our final presenter, whose name you already know. It's going to be Aaron Orndorff, and I want to be talking about accelerating SMS revenue with your most powerful, most overlooked lever. And this very much applies also to email as much as it does to SMS, but that's my bread and butter. So that's what I'm going to be jamming on hardest here. Right? What do I mean by your most powerful lever? Automations across the board for SMS, and this is also true for email, make up the lion's share of your month in, month out revenue. Now, the split is typically 30 to 60, 30 to 70%. It barely even changes during big holiday moments like November. And I like that stat to reinforce that this still matters even when campaign volume ramps up quickly. In fact, we can get even more specific than just your welcome flow being the lion's share of that lion's share. It all essentially flows from the first text in the welcome flow as long as it's linked directly to your pop-up incentive or your pop-up offer. So if a seasonal offer matters enough to put it into your ad account homepage and banners, and you're all hopefully doing this, swapping in and out, testing evergreen against campaign, seasonal specific, moment specific ad campaigns, as well as merchandising it on your homepage, in your banners, etc., then it also matters enough to put it where the most eyeballs and thumbs exist. And here's what I mean by put it into your pop-up, your welcome flow, and your first text or your first email. That's what I mean by where the most eyeballs and thumbs exist. That is high traffic real estate for eyes and fingers. Back when I was at Shopify and then on into my time at Common Thread Collective, we do this giant study every year. But we first started with 200 brands during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then we did 300, and then 400, and then 600, and we would just continue to stack screenshot on screenshot of screenshot of what are the biggest of the big doing, so we could analyze their various deal structures. Was it percentage off? Was it site-wide? Was it tiered? Was it buy one, get one? Was it free gift? What was the incentives that were driving them? And as we began to expand from 200 to 300 and beyond, we noticed a very troubling trend. So this is a very major D2C retailer, 15% off. They're in the banner. They're in the hero section. It's a little odd that they've got a hello 10 at checkout there in the top navigation. And that's because somebody left. And this isn't even associated with any of the two offers that are actually on the homepage. The evergreen pop-up that hit every single visitor during that highest traffic moment of the year. They left the evergreen pop-up on. And let me tell you, Ruggable is not alone. I can multiply these over and over and over again, but they would simply get smaller and smaller and smaller and harder to read. This happens constantly, even during the biggest of big moments. And then I finally caught, by way of Twitter, which is all the great e-commerce insights come from, this simple screenshot from Muddy Bites, where what they had done is switched over from their accidental evergreen pop-up during their Black Friday sale to a one-for-one match with the navigation, the header bar, the CTA shop now for 20% off, to simply be when the pop-up hits the visitor, make them match. And that's obviously an echo that we've heard along the way too, because match equals momentum. And this 3x their pop-up conversion rate and 1.5x the ultimate sales of that day itself, not to even mention the long-term value of collecting all of those email addresses and phone numbers while people are coming through in those high volume moments so you can market to them later. Right? Message match. So all I want to do is round this out with a few examples of exactly how you can do this using a very recent from Valentine's Day that just closed yesterday. This first one is from a client of ours called Happy Teas. This is probably the simplest way you can do it. So if you're looking for a really easy one thing, the next big holiday or season or sale you have coming up, all they've done here is not even change the offer itself. It's still unlock your mystery discount. They've put in imagery that matches the moment that the traffic is being generated because of. That's it. And there's a slight nod in the very first text they receive with the image that's associated with the pop-up, and nothing else, not even the welcome offer, has been altered. So this is the easiest of the three. Second, LiveBay, right? They updated their unlock 10% off with another simple, just Valentine's Day order, a nod to why most of the people on the site, what is the mood, the imperative that this moment generates for them to simply keep that momentum going. Enter your email, enter your phone number. They match it again with the exact same, so clever, the exact same hero image that's in the background of the home page, only temporarily, just during the week and a half lead up to Valentine's Day to keep that momentum going, right? No change in the code either here. It's a swap in, swap out. Now, for some people, this moment like Valentine's Day is going to matter all the more. And in this case, one of our clients, a jewelry retailer, right? They go all in with not only in the hero section, a love yourself message to enjoy 20% off in the pop-up. And don't miss this either. This is like extra. This is bonus right here. The reason their offer is not go buy your significant other something beautiful is because they are dealing with reality that the majority of their returning visitors, new visitors, the ads that they serve up are served towards a female audience. So they match the message that is inside of the ads to the message that you get inside the pop-up, to not all of a sudden wish a whole bunch of non-females would come to the site to buy something for their significant other, but instead they're simply leaning into the audience they know that they already have. It goes email. There's another incentive to send me the 20% off via text. And in this case, they actually update the discount to make it greater. They update the discount code so that it matches. And again, you see this one-for-one through line with the imagery itself, so that whatever the ads that are driving to the page, that are then serving up the pop-up, that are then going into not just campaigns, right? Not just campaigns, but to what is always going to be your biggest money maker, can be that much more of a money maker. If you do nothing else, update your pop-up and first SMS, could also say first email, to match every holiday offer. If it matters enough to merchandise your ad account and your website for it, it matters enough to merchandise the place where the most eyes and thumbs exist. Now, we did have one specific question come in that we just barely have a little bit of time for. And if we have a few extra moments, I've got a question as well. But John, this is actually a pretty pressing question. How are you going to adapt your product when universal analytics are removed and all cookies disappear, especially from Apple?
Got it. Yeah, I know this is somewhat related to GA4, which everyone on the call loves, I'm sure. So basically, our system is built on top of livechat.com. And so we're working with them to figure out what the best way inside of a browsing session is to essentially track the behavior of what that visitor is doing on the site. I think it's going to become way more complex to do that cross session on a single user. So like they came back yesterday, or they left yesterday, they came back today. That's going to get super, super messy to deal with. But we are seeing some ways that we can track the in-session activity. And remember, for us, we're not necessarily needing to store a ton of stuff. We're looking more at their browsing behavior during that session and then triggering actions based on that. So it's not as complex as other marketers have to deal with, cross session and storing data about what they did and their product and the price point and all those types of things. That's where it gets real complicated. But it's looking like we're still gonna be able to continue to do what I described on this session.
In all honesty, too, as well, I know it's one of those news of my death has been greatly exaggerated because Google keeps rolling back their hard stance against cookies. Apple seems to be one of the few that makes real moves towards privacy, whatever you believe about their actual motivation to be doing it. And yet it's kind of like, it's like the Jurassic Park of marketers and operators. Nature finds a way. It's typically what I almost are. There's too much on the line for it to not. Now, one of the questions that came to mind for me, and let's end with this one before we all say thank you, is what I noticed is many of these one things. For example, with Ezra, you're talking about the pre, in cart, post, thank you. And then Trevor comes along and says, no. Use that time after a purchase to figure out why they bought. And then we've got Katie saying, you both are wrong. What you really want in that moment is to incentivize referral through affiliates. Get that person to go out there and become an evangelist for you by giving them something they actually want. And gosh, I love that line about it's got to be bigger than the sale. That was a freaking takeaway for me as well. How do you three think about what might sound like competing priorities to someone who's trying to figure out what's the next step that I take in this direction?
Well, we're not doing the thing Katie suggested, but we're doing both post-purchase one-click upsells and Bestie on our site, and they have no conflict. They work perfectly together, and we found some really interesting stuff through Bestie, by the way. So Betsy or Bestie, I don't know. I keep getting it wrong, but
definitely
I'm a
Bestie.
fan. Bestie. Yeah, so I'm a fan of that app. It's really good. So I think you can do all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's a different opinion here.
I second that. Yep.
Is there such a thing as over optimization?
I mean, there's such a thing as annoying people by being too aggressive with your marketing, but there's not such a thing as making, relevant, timely offers to somebody to engage with you if you're cool about it, and not like all these sites that you land on and they got friggin' spinning widgets and things popping out from every corner. It's like, yeah, that is lame. But hey, a post-purchase upsell, an offer on the product page, a survey, and where you're incentivizing them, it's like you can, if somebody is going through your sales process, they like you enough to take out their credit card and buy something from you. So if you're cool to them and you're making them offers that you think are interesting and relevant to them, and you're incentivizing them to do so, you're not going to piss people off. And if you do, by the way, they will let you know, and then you can change course.
Yeah, they'll either vote with letting you know, or they'll vote with some attendant metric that drops, whether that's conversion rate, the average order value declines, right? People are going to that. And in a lot of ways, that's why I wanted to ask the question too, because I know there's a fear in some parts for high brand aesthetic folks to like this idea of over optimizing. Folks will let you know. And it's almost always this game of like, how close to the line can we get where we're still maximizing value without undercutting the experience itself, so that it then begins to detract and you see that show up in the numbers. We actually got one more good question. We'll end with this one. This was a post-purchase question. How did you reach us today? That's sort of asking the human to fill in the blank. How is that any different from just pulling referring source from Google Analytics? What's the benefit of asking someone versus just going to look?
Really good question. So let's say I'm going to answer this question with an example. So one of the brands using us is a women's boutique, 8-figure women's boutique, and their owner, one of the things that she does very, very well. So they work with influencers. Okay. On the Instagram side of things, Instagram is one of their bigger channels. And two, the owner utilizes stories very, very well. Okay. So what she'll do is she'll go in and she'll try on specific articles of clothing and say, hey, I am this size, I am this height, et cetera, to give people a good idea as to like what this looks like on a human being. Okay. So if you go into Google Analytics and you see in your, source medium report, right, and it says this was a referral or referral traffic, and it says it was from Instagram, what was that from? Who was that? Was that her and her stories? Was that an influencer on Instagram? What was it? And you can't quite get that with some of those things. So that's where something like understanding this last click perspective, there's just different scenarios in which it could be, hey, it's Instagram referral, because an influencer Instagram referral looks the same as an influencer or an Instagram stories referral. Yeah. Unless you're really, really utilizing UTM parameters, and 9 times out of 10, you're never going to get an influencer who's going to do that.
You're just up against reality with what is, for a growing majority of brands, one of their bread and butter sources of both paid and organic, which is
a great question. Really good question.
Or influencer. Yeah. My 2 cents on that, not that anyone asked, is I always think about how, I trust the data side in a what is the source of truth sort of way. To me, the most interesting thing, besides the ability to hone your marketing, your messaging itself, like the way you identified and illustrated the value proposition that was actually driving people to purchase, I think it's for me, it's the same way with what we're really asking someone is, what do you think the reason you bought today is, right? What do you think the place you came from was? Now, I don't necessarily trust people to actually know that, but it's still vitally interesting to understand their experience of it, because those are the places that then people are proud to be associated with, and you can lean harder into. And so it's such a balance between quantitative on the metrics side, on the number side of things, data, and then that qualitative, how does it shape what we say and where we say 100%. It, how we say it.
Totally.
Well, thank you very much to all of our guests and speakers today. I'm going to admonish all of you here with us to go and do that one thing. I am sure that any of these folks whose Twitter handles, LinkedIn addresses appeared along the way would love to have you at them with something that you actually put into action. Nothing thrills my heart more than that sort of, I heard you say, and I went and did blank. That is an amazing feeling. So holler at us if you have any follow-up questions too. I've no doubt you can holler at me at Aaron Orndorff, and I will pass those messages along. We're going to be sending out a recording so you can get the full version of this. So there's one screenshot that you didn't miss. And at very high risk of breaking our own rules, if I'm going to ask you to do 2 things, I'm going to ask you to go jump into, we're going to be doing this all over again in 2 weeks. Brand new landing page is up. I'm going to drop the link in here for everyone so you can grab that. If you enjoyed it, new set of speakers. We're going to be focusing on how to supercharge your funnel, top to bottom, back again in 2 weeks. Welcome your feedback. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all again very soon.